Hello and welcome to the Bison Basketball Show. I'm Brian Shawn. The North Dakota State men's and women's basketball teams finally put an end to its longest stretch of road games this season and doing it against their in-state rivals. The Bison men were looking for their third straight road win after victories at Oral Roberts and Western Illinois. The Bison looking for their fourth straight win in Grand Forks, and it was a low-scoring first half. Tied at 9 when Tyson Ward finds Rocky Cruiser inside for the jam, as there would be 8 ties and 5 lead changes in the opening 20 minutes. Vinny Shahid continued his hot shooting. He hit a pair of three-pointers, but the Bison just 2 of 9 from outside the arc in the first half. Freshman Sam Griesel played 30 minutes and scored 10 points to go along with 3 rebounds and 3 assists as North Dakota State would lead 30-27 after 20 minutes of play. The Bison get off to a good start in the second half, opening up a 7-point edge off a Tyson Ward hook shot in the lane a couple of minutes in. But North Dakota would respond with a 9-0 run of its own. Philip Rabracha backs his man down and flips in 2 of his 7 points as the Hawks grab the lead back. Dengu once again provided scoring punch off the bench. He scored 11 points and grabbed 8 rebounds in 19 minutes. NDSU outscored the Hawks 24-3 in bench points. Cortez Seals was tough to slow down for UND. He scored 21 points as the Hawks piled up 46 points in the paint. But with just over 6 minutes to go, trailing 56-55, the Bison exploded for a 10-0 run to go ahead for good. After switching to a 1-3-1 zone, Cameron Hunter coming up with the steal and lay-in on one end. Just seconds later, Tyson Ward would poke the ball away from UND's Billy Brown as the Fighting Hawks looked to take a timeout, and then quickly NDSU turns it into points as Griesel kicks it out to Ward for a dagger three-pointer from the corner. Shahid capped the 10-0 run with a 3-point play as he drives in for the tough finish in the paint plus the foul. He scored a team-high 21 points as the Bison pulled ahead 65-56 with 4:54 left and would go on to win it 74-70, shooting 57% in the second half to pick up their third straight road victory.
Obviously, I had the experience of the NDSU-UND rivalry one time, and tonight was just as electric. And it feels really good to come out on top in these games, man. And when both teams just battle it out, and when we come on top, it's even better. To go 3-1 in this away stretch is really big for us. Just gaining confidence every game, and then hopefully we can ride that momentum into the home games.
We haven't been very good on the road earlier this year, and so to buckle down and get these 3, and this one specifically, it being a rivalry game, it really shows mental toughness from our guys.
The Bison men then returned to their home floor for the first time in 3 weeks to host Denver, and getting a big boost off the bench in the first half from redshirt freshman Tyree Eady. He was 5 of 7 from the floor, scoring 13 of his 16 points in the opening 20 minutes. North Dakota State led by as many as 15 in the first half as the team stayed hot from the field. Jared Samuelson had a pair of triples, this forcing a Denver timeout. Vinny Shahid continued his hot streak as well, scoring the final 6 points of the half, including another big shot from outside the arc, and it was an 11-point game going into the locker room. The Pioneers started strong in the second half, scoring 7 straight to get back into it. Ronnie Harrell led the way with 23 points and 7 rebounds as the margin was cut to 4 on several occasions. Rocky Cruiser would come alive in the second half as well, scoring 9 straight points for NDSU. Shahid dishing out 1 of his 7 assists for the 3-point play. Cruiser added 14 on the night. But the Pios were not done. Ade Murky coming up with the steal, and off the miss, he would lay it back up and in. He scored all 13 of his points in the second half as the lead was trimmed to 3 with 10 minutes left. But the Bison were able to maintain the advantage. Tyson Ward backing down his defender and muscling in 2 of his 11 points. Denver never got closer than 6 the rest of the way as Shahid would put the game away with 3.5 minutes to go for 2 more on this lay-in. He poured in a game-high 27 as North Dakota State wins its 4th straight game, 81-71. The Bison committed only 9 turnovers and shot 20 of 24 from the free throw line.
It's a good role. We know the teams we play are in the lower half of the Summer League, but we still it's good to get a good rhythm, confidence, and swagger about us. And we keep on going. I think our focus before games, focus on scouting reports, focus on defense. We pride ourselves on our defense and our gaps, stuff like that. So being able to execute that in scouting report is really encouraging.
Then again, to start the home stretch, we've got some good teams coming in here in the next week. And so it's good to start off with a win and build some confidence here at home. Now, and we're really focused. We're really hammering the details on both ends, and I think that's what's leading to our success.
Up next on the Bison Basketball Show, we chat with NDSU head coach David Richman to recap the two matchups and take a look ahead to the next homestand.
The Bison Basketball Show on Midco Sports Network is presented by NODAC Insurance Company and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back to the Bison Basketball Show, joined now by North Dakota State men's head coach David Richman. The Bison knocking off Denver at home after 3 straight road wins, a 4-game winning streak for your club, Dave. I mean, I know you don't want to celebrate, get too high, too low, but at the same time, this is positive steps here for your club with a favorable schedule down the stretch.
Absolutely, Brian, and we're going to make sure to enjoy these things, and I think that's a big part of our successes going forward is to have some fun. You know, there's validation in the process, but to your point too, there's, make no mistake here, that there's a lot of February left, and then there's the most important month in college basketball in March, and so we got to continue to get better, but we got to make sure and enjoy these moments and celebrate them because there's a lot of hard work that goes into them behind the scenes.
And dealing with weather and everything to get to North Dakota, that was a little bit of a challenge on Wednesday. Got the game in, got home. That was a big road win after coming off 2 other road wins where, again, 5 minutes to go, who's going to execute the best? And you get a couple big performances from guys, and all of a sudden, here you are.
And that's the positive, I think, right now. And you're seeing the beauty of having a point guard, and not only that, but 2 of them, when Cam and Hunter as well, and more back healthy, and another year under his belt from last year. And you know, we're finding ways to win down the stretch, even when it's not necessarily always pretty. But at the same time, from an encouragement standpoint, from my viewpoint, is there's so many areas we can continue to clean up. And I think that biggest area is staying focused and creating those separations. You know, a 6-point lead to a 9-point lead, a 9-point lead to a 13-point lead, and so on. And that's that next step for our group.
You were challenged at home against Denver. You built the first half lead. Vinny Shahid and Tyre Eady got you off to a great start. And then Denver came back, got it to 4 a couple of times, 3 a couple of times, and then Rocky Cruiser delivers. Then it was Vinny Shahid for a while. Sam Grease will get you a big rebound. It just seems like your guys, they don't panic. Those 8-point, 9-point runs don't become 16-point runs. And that's where I think maybe you've seen this group grow up the most over the last month. Yeah,
and the irony of it is, you know, from today's game it was at Denver where we completely lost it. You know, we're up 6 at half and score out of the gates, and we're up 8. And then from there, it just couldn't have gone downhill any faster or any worse. And we said it, as you're watching the tape, you could see the score. The score is still right there, but you feel like you're down so many. But we've remained poised, and that's what's been encouraging. And I think, again, perspective, excuse, whatever you want to call it, it's taken this group some time. It's taken this group some experiences that, you know, that you can't simulate. You just have to go through. And fortunately, they've gone through them now, and they're being rewarded on the backside.
I feel like we talk every week about how interchangeable this group can be, and we've seen the big lineup. Sometimes we put Rocky and Dang out there at the same time. We saw the small lineup for an extended period against Denver just to really match what they were doing with their personnel, and that worked out great too. So, you know, it's nice to be able to do that, to play Tyre Eady at the 5 if you need to and get away with it.
It's the versatility, and we don't feel like we're just getting away with it either. You know, it's a lineup that we've been able to excel at. You know, we were able to gap and get that lead, and from today's game, it just happened to work out where Dang was in foul trouble. Rocky was getting a little bit longer in his minutes. We needed to get him off and get him off the court, and so it worked out where we can go that. And the other thing is, you play those 5 guys, you still got 2 smalls on the bench in Cam and Chris too. And so just really encouraged with our depth and versatility, and really excited to continue to build going forward.
Another big homestand coming up. Oral Roberts coming to town. I'm sure they're licking at the chops to get up here and try to return, what you guys gave them with the loss down in Tulsa, and then South Dakota State coming in. This homestand, I mean, you don't want to make too big of a deal out of it, but these are 2 big games coming up this week.
They're all big. They're huge. And I think my big message here, Brian, is for Bison Nation is this is a true kind of the old NCC. This is a true weekend where you can come out on a Thursday night. You can turn around, get your rest on Friday, and come back and be loud again on Saturday. And there's something to kind of, sink your teeth into a little bit. We're having some success. It's a beautiful facility, a Thursday night, a Saturday afternoon. So we're excited to be home, but we also know, like you said, the challenges that are forthcoming.
Well, it's nice to be in the position you're in. Congratulations on the win streak, and we'll hope to continue it this weekend.
I appreciate it, Brian. Thank you.
Dave Richman joining us here on the Bison Basketball Show. Stay with us. North Dakota State women return home as well after a long road trip, taking on North Dakota up in Grand Forks, and then hosting Denver as well. We'll recap that after this. For more on Walseth and the North Dakota State women, the road has not been kind. The Bison have played competitive in stretches, but we're still searching for their first conference road win at North Dakota. Another hard-fought physical battle between the two teams, but it would be NDSU grabbing an early 6-point lead as Emily Dietz rolls to the basket and gets the feed from Marina Fernandez for the lay-in. Bison up 4 after 1. Fernandez scored 8 points and also grabbed 9 rebounds in the contest. The basket in the paint would extend the margin back to 4. But a strong finish to the half by the Fighting Hawks. Lexi Clabo tracking down her own miss at the free throw line and goes back up and in for the basket. She had a double-double with 26 points and 12 rebounds. It was a 1-point game at halftime. The Bison would fall behind by 7 in the third before rallying in the final minutes of the quarter. Circling Rimdahl, the pass inside to Danica Vagley for her only basket. Then Michelle Geislerova spins away from her defender and hits the jumper. North Dakota State closes the quarter on an 8-1 run to tie it up at 43 going into the final 10 minutes. Again, trailing by 7, the Bison start to claw back. Dietz, again, tough finish in the lane plus the foul. She led the way with 13 points. With just over 4 minutes to go, Riley Nudell stepping through in the lane for 2 of her 9 points to cut it back to 1. But UND would finish the game on a 16-5 run. Jill Morton doing most of the damage. The and one with 2 minutes left would seal it. She went for 14 as the Hawks split the season series with a 70-58 victory. NDSU shot just 3 of 14 from three-point range, missing all 7 second-half attempts. The Bison look to rebound at home, hosting Denver on Saturday. Sophomore Emily Dietz had her way in the paint, posting inside and laying it in on her way to a career day. Denver is the top-scoring team in the Summit League and showed why. Off the turnover, Haley Simmenthal quickly up to Samantha Romanowski for the lay-in. Romanowski scored a team-high 17 points and dished out 11 assists. Pio's up 7 after 1. Circling Rimdahl knocked down the open 3 to get the Bison on the board in the second quarter after nearly a 7-minute scoring drought. But Denver controlled the tempo and exploded for 29 points in the final 10 minutes of the half. Maddie Nelson getting free inside. She added 14, and it was a 47-24 game at halftime. Dietz continued her strong performance in the second half, finishing with a career-high 26 points on 10 of 12 shooting, but the deficit just too large to overcome. Grace White drilling the corner 3 early in the fourth quarter as the Pioneers pull away for the 87-67 victory. Denver shot 53% from the floor and hit 10 of 19 from three-point range to hand the Bison their 5th straight loss.
We talked about just not having the urgency and intensity that we needed in the first half, and the game's over now and we can only control what's going to happen next and work on that in practice.
I think we have to come out and compete right away. We waited too long into the second half to compete, and we haven't been at home for a while. This was our opportunity to come out strong, and we didn't do that. We have a couple days now to prepare for Oral Roberts, but it's not going to get any easier from here on out. So we have to make a lot stronger starts than we have been.
We now welcome in NDSU women's basketball coach Maren Walseth to the set, and Riley Nudell had just kind of said it after the game that, we didn't come out right away. We didn't come out and play with the intensity that we showed in the second half, and she goes, we paid for it, but that's something we can't dwell on. We have to get ready because Oral Roberts is going to be here this week. Got to get ready to go.
You're right. We came out of the gates a little bit slow. We're able to regroup with them leading that conversation at halftime, and I really felt we were much more competitive in the second half.
What is the biggest thing turning the page with this group now? Because we've seen how tough they can play. At North Dakota last week, it was a tie game going into the fourth quarter and then down 7 in the fourth quarter, came back to make it a 1-point game again. So they have that fight in them, so it's just one of those things now where you got to put it together for 40 minutes.
Absolutely. They have it in them, and it's the leadership consistently to bring it out every single night.
The one thing that we probably haven't talked enough about is what Emily Dietz has done and how far she has come as a player, and not only that, but as a person. You talk to your coaching staff, she's really taken on a significant leadership role, and on the floor, she was in control against Denver. 10 of 12 from the floor, 26 points.
Absolutely. I'm very pleased with the progress and the growth that Emily Dietz has displayed. At UND, she gets bopped in the face, and you don't know, is that going to be a motivating moment, or is that going to be have to take a breath and sit down for a while? And I thought she really rallied, had to put that face mask on. Very pleased with how she played at Denver as well. Commanding, wanted the ball in the paint, and was able to finish very well.
What are some things you focus on now at this point in the year? You're getting down to about 5 games left to go. You can kind of see March at the end of the road, so to speak, with the conference tournament. So what are the things that you're spending most of your time on right now?
With the upperclassmen, it's a lot of like, you don't have much time left. So we need to make every single practice and every single game be your best, whatever your best looks like. And then with the team, there's plenty of growth and learning still on the table. Different scouts, different opponents, different strategies. It's easy to keep our minds fresh from that perspective, but it's also managing some of the fatigue and some of the aches and pains.
As you get into the second half of league play and you play a team for the second time, sometimes their game plans will shift for you, but your game plans will shift for them too. How much of a chess match is that when you're playing a team for the second go-around?
It is a chess match. We have fantastic coaches in our league. So whether it's a win or a loss the first time around, I'm confident they're making changes, and it's re-watching games. It's watching games from previous years. What is their go-to? How do they like to change things up, and seeing how we can maybe be prepared for that.
Oral Roberts, South Dakota State, big homestand. Just talk about those two opponents. Obviously playing very good basketball right now.
Both are playing very good basketball. ORU is really coming on and really played South Dakota strong last week. So being able to have those two games at home is huge for us, with our fans, a couple of big promotional nights and whatnot happening for us. So it'll be good to be back in the Shack.
All right, have fun. We'll look forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
Marna Walseth joining us here in the Bison Basketball Show. Before the game against Denver this past weekend, the Bison held a Women in Sports clinic, and we had a chance to catch up with some of the participants of that. We'll have that story after this.
The Bison Basketball Show on Midco Sports Network is presented by NODAC Insurance Company and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back. This past weekend, the staff and student athletes at North Dakota State hosted an event to celebrate National Girls and Women in Sports Day with not only the student athletes, but also the next generation, and it was a hit. National Girls and Women in Sports Day was first celebrated in 1987 as a special day in our nation's capital to recognize women's sports. For more than 3 decades, the celebration has empowered women and girls to get moving, reap the benefits of physical activity, and push past their limits both in sports and in life.
Well, there's so many pioneers that have come before us that have kind of paved the way for women in general and girls in general. And so for us to be able to try to continue that in our area, in our community, I think it says a lot about NDSU and those that are trying to instill in that.
I can't imagine not being able to do like the same thing that men do, like soccer. I grew up like watching men's soccer, golf. I'm obviously on the golf team.
For the second straight year, North Dakota State hosted a clinic for girls in kindergarten through 8th grade. It was held before the women's basketball game against Denver, giving them all a chance and an opportunity to learn and participate in various sports and activities with student athletes and coaches.
I really love interacting with them and playing sports with them especially, and I would love to see this woman in a couple of years playing for NDSU.
I think it's a really cool experience because not only are they learning sports, but they're learning about nutrition and they're learning about how to be healthy. And I know cheer hasn't done this yet, and it was a thing last year, and it's so special to us to be here, and we really just want the girls to have people to look up to.
And it was so cool seeing all the girls come, all different sports, and just have fun, learning new sports and just getting to know new kids.
It's a special day to be able to get kids involved and to get them to know all of our programs and just be able to give them another opportunity to get involved and be a little bit more active.
And as fun as it was for the student athletes, it was equally as enjoyable for the girls that took part.
I like that I get to meet new friends. It's really fun to meet all the Bison people.
But the event didn't just end with a clinic. Girls also had the opportunity to go behind the scenes and shadow those that work during an NDSU athletics event, including public address announcing, coaching, marketing, cheer team, athletic training, and yes, even broadcasting. We even have our own guest that's been joining us here throughout the broadcast today, and that is Megan Morrissey, a 5th grader that's been hanging out on the table with us. Megan, what do you think so far? You've had a chance to experience this for a half. What's your thoughts?
Well, it's really fun, and I'd like to do it again.
I think it's so cool that we're letting girls be them and letting girls do what they want to do, and this is such a good opportunity for them to be involved in sports and to show everybody that they can keep up with whoever.
1, 2, 3, Those attending also received free admission to the Bison women's basketball game that afternoon against Denver. We're back to wrap things up after this.
The Bison Basketball Show on Midco Sports Network is presented by NODAC Insurance Company and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Back to close out this week's show as the Bison get ready for 4 more home games this week. The men will play host to Oral Roberts on Thursday at 7 p.m. on Midco Sports Network before league leader South Dakota State comes to Fargo on Saturday afternoon at 4 p.m. Pregame gets you started at 3:45 on Midco SN as well. The Bison women also host ORU this week on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock on Midco SN and will take on the Jackrabbits at 1 p.m. on Saturday as well. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you next time.